Welcome to the AI Assisted Organization podcast with your co-host, myself, Piers Linney, and my co-host and co-founder of Implement AI, Dr. Alok Shukla, who is now back from Dublin.
Indeed. It was a great trip.
Yeah, it looked like it went well, actually. Some big events there. So just talk us through what went down.
Yeah, so there was like around 700 people there. It was a really brilliant venue in Dublin at the RDS, and it was all about AI and not all about business and business growth and scaling up. I ran 3 sessions on AI. So the first one was on the main stage. The second one, we went into a bit more detail on how people can use voice and vision to build their own products and services. And then we did a 4-hour deep dive the day after for a select group of Inner Circle members, and that was really, really good, where we were going through 4 hours of basically building your AI operating system, which we'll touch on later on. But I mean, the use cases and the diversity of companies that were there, it was incredible. Everything from ice cream machines to property to any kind of service. It's really quite interesting.
Yeah, it's quite interesting. I think we're going to do more. We talk of doing more of these for our. If you're an AI insider listening to this, you've signed up for our newsletter, one of our white papers. We're going to start doing more of these workshops to actually show you how these things work and the power of them as well. And I did a keynote for quite a large law firm, actually, and we were talking about ChatGPT, which we're going to come on and talk about as well today, but at OpenAI. But it was quite interesting. Well, a lot of these events I go to, I always ask for a show of hands. And it's the first room of about 100 people, quite senior professionals, where I asked them, do you use an AI as a personal assistant, like we talked about in the last podcast? And nobody put their hand up, which I thought was quite interesting. But after the event, several told me, they were asking me, where do I sign up? So this week...
Actually, sign-ups are blocked. Sign-ups are blocked at the moment,
that was going to be put in the news.
Because I had a few people in the workshop that they were like trying to sign up and they couldn't, basically. So
yeah,
we'll come to that in the news.
Yeah.
So
on the news, we're going to talk about so we're going to do our news or AI news for business. We're going to focus on that, and our theme this week is going to be the AI operating system, which is kind of what we talk about in AI assisted organization. But the point is, what do you put in place? This operating system, this platform, for you then to build your business. There's something that came out of Alok's trip to Ireland in terms of discussions there. We're going to talk about Implement AI updates, the usual sort of weekly updates. So we'll crack on. So the big news this week, which we could talk about hours on this, or people on
I was on Twitch all weekend.
Yeah, X, whatever the hell it's called, Twitter Spaces now for 3.5 hours talking about all the ramifications. But if you don't follow AI news, it probably means absolutely nothing to you. So we'll try and relate it more to business. But the big news was that there's a chap called Sam Altman who runs OpenAI, the people that launched ChatGPT.
Ran.
He's quite a well-known character in technology generally. He used to run a Y Combinator. And, he was we mentioned the Dev Day a couple of weeks ago, which we were all very excited about. And there was just some tweet, basically, an announcement where he was being transitioned out of the organization. Of course, all hell broke loose on Twitter and across the AI community, the AI universe, about what happened. There was like a board coup, and it seems as though there was actually a coup, and there seems to be some friction. And we don't know if exactly. It'll come out in the book, I'm sure, but there'll be some friction between the kind of researchers and then the people who are more commercial, which is Sam, another chap who was the chairman. So he was also transitioned out of the chairman role, but was asked to stay. So that he also resigned, the chairman as well. So, and then over the weekend, a lot of top researchers started resigning, and basically the wheels started falling off. Microsoft, who've backed OpenAI to the tune of 10 billion, they weren't aware of this, apparently. So I can imagine that Satya Nadella, the CEO of Microsoft,
he was furious.
I bet he was on his phone all weekend as well. Given the fact he stood on stage, Sam Altman, 2 weeks previously, sort of announcing their sort of deeper relationship. So all this was going on, and you're thinking that, Sam Altman's going to go off with Greg, the former chairman, set up a new company. People started resigning, and they're all going to go and work with them. And then was it Sunday or Saturday evening, the news comes out that he's then going back to OpenAI, talking to them about becoming the CEO. Sunday evening, becoming the CEO.
And because the team threatened to resign, basically. The team had threatened by 5 p.m. Most of it.
So the point then was he going to go back? And the people that tried to, sort of put this coup into place, they'd all leave, which was some of the other co-founders, some of the execs, non-executive
Ilya.
directors.
Yeah.
So there's kind of four of them that could leave, and then the chairman and Sam would come back. Now, that didn't turn out to be the case. I don't think they could agree on terms, which
They didn't want
I
to
can
do that.
imagine was quite difficult, given what happened, because they'd all have to leave, the people that were left behind. And then it was quite interesting. You had things like the CEO they put in place. Sam Altman put a tweet out saying, "I love OpenAI, the OpenAI team," and they all kind of
Is
commented with love
I
hearts, weren't they?
love
Oh, that
you
was it. I love
all.
you.
Ilya.
I love you. Oh, I see.
It was
Oh,
the first name
you
of
were getting,
Ilya.
you were getting deep into it there, weren't you?
I was deep in it, man.
I didn't spot that at all.
I was
Okay, I got
deep
it.
in
Yeah,
that
yeah.
basically. It basically said, "I love you all. Today was a weird day." So Ilya, today was a weird day, basically, right? Like, and then
Oh,
what
wow,
happened
that's a good
is,
one.
then it was the team that were threatening to resign and join Sam.
Well, the
They were
team
all
gave
putting
him a
the
deadline,
hearts.
didn't they?
Yeah, but they were all putting the hearts to signify that they were supporting Sam, basically, right? So then the board could then see how many people were supporting Sam. But like,
I mean, listen,
I think,
you can get into the detail of this one, but the point
but
is, here is this was
yeah,
a major sort of
this is an
disruption.
inflection point.
Yeah,
It's an inflection point
in a company which is leading,
in an industry.
an industry,
Right?
and the kind of race towards AGI, right? So there's a soap
It's like
opera
Usain
element to
Bolt.
it.
It's like Usain Bolt is winning, and then he trips himself up basically, and then lies on the floor. But luckily, like the people that are there, now they're joining Microsoft, isn't it? Right? Like just to join
Yeah,
to create a
so
special AI
Satya
lab.
Nadella, he's a bit of a
CEO of
power
the
move.
year.
He's a power move, isn't he? So he's basically
Yeah.
now launching a advanced AI division of Microsoft, which the team that's left OpenAI are now going to be sort of running and developing.
And there was
And
a
this,
comment.
yeah,
There was
go
a
on.
comment where he said, for the new CEO and the people at OpenAI, "I look forward to getting to know you all." Basically, right? Like he wrote that about OpenAI, like as if he doesn't know them
Yeah,
anymore,
I mean,
right? You know, like.
OpenAI have really shot themselves in the foot there.
So
They were,
there's one interesting thing here, right? Like the guy who basically forced it all was called Ilya Sutskever. He's the chief scientist of OpenAI, and he's a very, very brilliant guy. And if we look at things on the opposite side, and if we think, okay, it wasn't a power move, if it wasn't a power move for money and stuff like this, then Sam Altman had said something about, maybe about a week ago that like just a few weeks ago they'd come across a profound step change in capability. And on October the 6th or 7th, Ilya tweeted, "If you value human intelligence and you like human intelligence," or something like this, "if you value intelligence above everything else, you're in for a bad time," basically, right? Like, and Elon Musk had replied to that like with a "uh-oh" basically tweet. So one of the theories is that they actually discovered a profound step change in capability, which scared Ilya, and then it's a bit like his Oppenheimer moment where he's trying to stop everything or something like this. But then the other side of it could just be that, like, they felt it was going to commercially too fast because after the GPT announcement, the GPT store and the OpenAI Dev Day, demand went off the roof. And basically, that's why they also paused signups because there's too many people that want to use it. And that was compromising the amount of compute that was available for alignment research and stuff like that.
yeah, no,
So,
but the point though is
yeah,
that if you want compute or to do any of this stuff, you need billions of pounds, and
correct.
having a business that produces revenue is not a bad plan.
Yes.
Having some foundation that needs literally tens of billions to
Yeah.
deliver something, even if it's got huge value, who's going to fund that if there's no economic reason to do that?
Correct.
So I think Sam Altman was on the right track. I think the
He
research was,
understands the world.
yeah,
He understands it.
absolutely right. But I err towards more the compute, the way in which the company was going in terms of that friction, as opposed to they've discovered AGI. But they seem
Yeah.
to be working towards it, that's for sure.
But to imagine now that with Sam and Greg now working at Microsoft in that special division, imagine if they're the ones like managing the resource allocation to OpenAI now. It could happen, isn't it? Right? They could be in charge of all that stuff and then essentially, the people kind of like switch over. But I mean, the bottom line is the momentum is not going to stop. And we might see even faster pass rates because the people that,
Well, we've talked a lot, haven't we, about on this podcast that you've got Microsoft launching its own Copilot, developing its own models, even develop its own chips. We'll talk about today, and you've got OpenAI that's launched ChatGPT Enterprise. Is that sort of constant
yeah,
friction as though people are sort of hedging their bets, whereas Microsoft now have the ability potentially that they need to hedge their bets. They can develop it
which
themselves
which
internally.
enterprise is going to sign up for ChatGPT Enterprise now. With like a, it was like 500,000 to 1 million a year or whatever it was basically. Like, who's going to sign up for that now? The trust is destroyed.
But the relevance for AI for business, which is what we want to talk about, is that this does impact. So it's gonna absolutely impact the trajectory, the development of ChatGPT and where that goes, and what that looks like, and the speed of that, the evolution that we
Yeah.
saw. That's probably going to slow down, and you're now hopefully going to see even more, which we've got some updates today, come out of Microsoft. So I don't think that story is quite over yet, but it was quite the weekend
Yeah,
if
and
you
Claude
follow
and all the other
AI
ones can
news.
like catch up and start releasing. Like I saw the announcements for Claude's API and a few things like this. So I think it's just going to kind of like definitely it will evolve and fragment more.
So let's move on there, but just link to that. Just before Sam was transitioned out of the business, he did sort of hint that, well, didn't hint actually, he kind of announced basically that they are working or were working on GPT-5.
Yeah.
So how these things develop now and how they're launched may be different going forwards. But I think overall it's a good thing because I think you've got OpenAI may become more, research. And you've got these people like Sam Altman and Greg at Microsoft doing things that are, really, really commercial because it's a business there to make money. So I think it's good news overall, I think. As I mentioned, I'm always saying to people, sign up for ChatGPT Plus. We said last week, use AI as a personal assistant. And then as soon as I announced that, they stopped signing up for
Yeah.
ChatGPT Plus, which was quite frustrating for quite a few people last week. So, but keep an eye out, and if you are using ChatGPT, do sign up for ChatGPT Plus and start using it and playing with it and use it. But that might be a week or two away. So that might be one of the reasons why all the wheels fell off at the weekend as well. And going back to Microsoft, moving on, they're now doubling down on this Copilot branding. So you're now seeing that that Bing Chat's going to become Copilot. We still don't know exactly, as far as I'm aware, like as you are, that when they're going to launch a general release of Microsoft 365 Copilot. But at their Microsoft Ignite conference, which is their kind of annual sort of tech conference, they did make some announcements about what that's going to do. So things were expected in terms of how search using generative AI for creating content in Microsoft 365, but also some news on how it's going to work in meetings. So we use various applications to record our meetings, transcribe them, and analyze them. A lot of that's going to be built into Microsoft 365. But also, what they're now saying is what will come down the line is the ability to prepare for meetings. So often in a meeting, you want to know who you're meeting, who are they, what do I know about them, what documents are relevant to the meetings, what do I need to know, can I summarize them, should I read them? And it's going to start doing all this for you, which is going to be really quite powerful. So and this is before they hired Sam Altman.
Exactly. No, I mean, I think like I'm really looking forward to like seeing a lot more of like what they've done with the Copilot, and I think it's going to help a lot more people start integrating into their workflows for sure.
And they announced they're going to do more personalized output. So it's going to learn how you write emails, how you write, how you prepare documents or presentations. So it's kind of personalized outputs. Personalization is going to be built in as well. And kind of linked to that, we also talk about the AI being built into productivity suites. Notion's been a bit behind in terms of its capability, but it's now launched, I think it's called Q&A, an AI chatbot. But all this seems to be, as far as I can work out, is they've kind of vectorized the information you've got in Notion so it can be searched semantically. So it's kind of a search capability more than anything else that's anything clever than that. But I'm sure that they'll be launching things like Microsoft Copilot and Google Duet down the line. Have you ever used Notion?
Briefly, a while ago, I haven't really used it.
Yeah, I've heard people that do, they swear by it. I've never actually used
I
it
use
myself.
Evernote, but I don't use the AI
And
stuff in it, to be honest.
yeah, and then we talk often about Google Gemini's coming, Google's multimodal capabilities coming. It is coming, but it's not coming as fast as we thought it was coming. So Google Gemini has been delayed. And what's quite interesting is that we thought Google were going to get there first in terms of multimodal capability. So things like Vision, but it looks like it's been delayed now until Q1 next year. And I think these things are more complicated than we can even begin to imagine to actually put together and launch. But they do seem to be slipping or still behind the curve slightly compared to OpenAI. But again, we may see that as you said, Alok, that Anthropic and Google and Stability, these people all begin to catch up due to the debacle at the weekend.
Yeah, I think this is just emphasize the need like to have like parallel systems essentially, right? And we've said this from the beginning, right? Like whichever way you choose to have things, you need to have your systems in place, but you should be able to like switch out different language models according to what's state of the art or functioning the best. And we've said this from the very beginning, basically.
Yeah, but we always say that what we try and do is help businesses implement AI and then also optimize it as the technology evolves.
Exactly.
Now you don't want to be swapping it out every couple of weeks
No,
because someone's
no.
updated something else. But every 6 months, you should be looking at what your front end is one thing, how you're using it, but the back end in terms of what models you're using to do what, you need to think about that because they are evolving very, very quickly. And one good example is going back to Google. So Google DeepMind, their internal AI division, and YouTube. I'm not sure what the link is there. Whether YouTube has a lot of, so it does a lot of data in terms of
Yeah.
music. I've launched Lyria, which is kind of a limited release, and this is important again because number one, just to show the power of these models. So now you can the example they gave is this is a music creation, right? So you can hum a track or go ba ba da ba da ba da, and then choose an instrument, any instrument, and it'll play it.
Wow.
And think about that. You can then tweak it, and then you can layer it up, add the drums. So now we always say that what generative AI does, it levels people up. It levels up creativity. So everybody now can be a creative. It's not always great if you're a creative, but it's a superpower. And you can now do this with music. So if you use music in your business quite a lot for whatever reason, you can now create your own music with no rights issues.
So the PRS license thing is done basically, right? Like if you've got a venue and you have to pay however much it is a year for like playing recorded music and all that kind of stuff, those companies they go after you for a lot. If the cafe or the doctor's surgery or whoever hasn't got a license, they're always pursuing. But if you use AI music, then you're not going to have to do that, then, isn't it? So
Yeah, there's going to be a lot more cases. Like, was it Ed Sheeran where he was in court for somebody said, "Oh, your song sounds like
yeah,
this song." I can't remember which one it was now. And now I don't know whether people are going to say, "Well, "I'm going to make something that sounds a bit like this." So that's going to be very interesting. But anyway, so now you've got text to image, we've got text to videos coming along, and now you can just hum music and it will turn that into any instrument that you like. And on the same note, really, in terms of creativity, in terms of leveling us all up as creatives, Adobe have now launched Project Soundlift, and I would use this. So, for example, if you recorded a video, and one of the hardest things in video, it's not the video, it's not the pictures, it's the audio. If your audio is poor, people just don't engage.
yeah.
Humans will turn off from poor audio a lot faster. They'll turn off someone with not particularly good at filming stuff. So what it allows you to do, imagine that I'm speaking now, and the background is in a street, car horns, birds tweeting, whatever it might be, people talking. You can now it'll analyze that content, and it will basically create a multi-track but laying up the different sounds. So you have my voice, you have the traffic, the birds tweeting, or whatever it might be, and that then means you can then take them out
Wow.
or tweak the volume or the sound of them using Adobe products, Audition or Premiere Pro. So that's really going to be really, really powerful in terms of being able to create content. And what this means again in businesses is that you can now create content. You haven't got to be an expert, and you then can have the tools to just tweak and fine tune that content so that it's of sufficient quality to use with your customers or other stakeholders. NVIDIA, I actually met with if he's probably listening to our podcast, Mr. Andrew Churchill at NVIDIA. He's our handler, and we were talking about NVIDIA last week, which is really exciting business. Sounds like a great place, and with a great CEO. And we were talking about the speed at which the technology is moving. So they've now launched NVIDIA H200. This is a new graphic processing unit, essentially, and it's designed for artificial intelligence models and for powering generative AI, basically. So this is great news because it means that, and what we're talking about is that often the capacity, even making these chips, some of these fabs, these special factories that make chips, some have capacity limits. And if you're creating a different kind of chip, you might use a different fab, which means that the capacity is there, which means that supply can increase, which means people can get their hands on them faster. But it's fascinating in terms of the kind of volumes that people are looking for these chips. And Jensen Huang also said that he had an interview saying that he thinks there's now a second wave coming. Some of this is quite sort of a high level. So he thinks that nation states should have AI models. They should basically capture and
Stability doing that.
fine tune models. Well, just yeah, stability based on their own sort of cultural data.
Absolutely.
So to capture that. There are 6,000 languages in the world. I think it's something like we're losing, I think it's 5 or 6 a month or something ridiculous
Wow.
like that. A lot of these are, kind of small sort of languages in African tribes, but they're still languages, still culture. So, but this is more about large nation states. So, what we don't want to have is one sort of model essentially down the line in the
No,
future
yeah.
that makes everyone sound exactly the same and think the same way. So that was quite a big thought. And then on that, we've seen that Amazon are developing chips, Google developing chips, and now Microsoft have launched a chip. Actually, it's the Azure Maya 100. So everybody realizes that Nvidia have this huge lead in terms of
Yeah.
hardware, but everybody else wants to get into that game now to sort of catch up, which is a good thing because eventually we're going to need a huge supply of these things to meet the exponentially growing demand.
Indeed, like I mean, yeah. Even one of the controversies with Sam Altman was like apparently raising money for his own chip as well because he knew that like once you get AGI, everyone becomes a competitor as well, basically. So yeah, so more entrance is always a good thing.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. If a day comes where somebody trips over AGI, the demand for these things is going to go through the roof because the first people to get there and really superpower these things with the hardware, the underlying hardware, are going to create something that's worth trillions. Right, so the news has been taken up this week a bit about OpenAI because it's quite important, I think, in terms of
Right.
how that's going to affect the landscape. But more important news is what Implement AI is doing. So again, we also every week, if you haven't read our white papers, our AI agent white paper, human resource versus not resource and AI agents, your augmented workforce was kind of ahead of the curve really. So it's definitely worth downloading and reading that, and also our new our initial white paper on our framework. We're now looking at writing another white paper, which we haven't quite decided what yet, but we're thinking maybe on this AI OS that we're going to talk about quite soon. Training. So we've launched our AI training academy. So if you haven't, the training is, and we keep saying this, and we're going to launch a campaign on this too, that training is your first way of creating competitive advantage using artificial intelligence. There's no point handing someone a saxophone, which can make beautiful music, but if you haven't trained on it, practiced it for quite a long time, then it's going to sound awful. So these are tools, these are instruments that you can use, but you need to know how to use them. And it helps to understand the context and how they work, because then it makes you appreciate how to use them to make them most effective. And then the first real entree, most of our clients, quite a few are signing up now from Ireland actually, and last week is our AI Activate. So it's a 60-day sprint. This helps you think about governance, policy, putting the structures in place, leveling up your board, leveling up your senior leadership team. We look at doing a proof of concept or an MVP, and then we help you develop a roadmap in terms of how you go from having no AI in most cases all the way through to being not quite autonomous, but definitely an AI first business as soon as possible. And this is our theme this week, Alok, isn't it? I'll let you lead on this week because you talked about this last week, but
Yeah.
essentially it's creating an AI operating system. And what this is a platform using AI, becoming an AI assisted organization as far as you can, as quickly as you can, in the safest way you can, take your business with you. But once you've got this platform that's super powered, it's more efficient, it's more effective, it's more productive. What that then means, we're focused more on growth with
Yeah.
less additional cost. What it then means, you can grow your business and also acquire businesses, because as an ex-M&A banker myself, it's all about synergy. So if you can bring in a business and you know how to superpower that business with AI, or take out cost, or superpower, or spur its growth, then it means you're going to create more value out of doing that deal. So talk us through the AI OS.
Exactly. So this is the whole thing. I think like people can get distracted by tasks or simple kind of like elements like the music thing and things like this. Think, oh, that's a cool use, or this is a bit thing, or this is a different element there. But what you have to think about is like not a little bit of AI in spits and spurts, just in different places, but an integrated overall approach to essentially be the framework, the engine, and the infrastructure to power your business. So what this means is that at the moment, most of your systems in your business will be delivered by people, and there's like a policy framework document, which is like step one, step two, step three. Building an AI operating system is where you take a different step, and it's like, okay, everything is going to be AI assisted, and you're going to start with, let's say, marketing. How is content marketing done? How is, sales? How is the initial sales approach done? How is quality assurance done? When we were talking about different examples, even within quick service food restaurants, in the workshop we were doing about how AI can be used as part of like the communication and evaluation elements within there. So the key thing with building your AI operating system is to basically like focus on the revenue generation stuff to begin with. And that's really, really important because that's going to help you drive more value and more profitability from your business. So the key thing here is like thinking about like, okay, if we're going to have an AI operating system, we're going to need two things. We're going to need to upskill our existing team members on using AI in the areas that are already doing things like marketing or different areas like this. But you're also going to need to create some new specialist AI, which is going to be used to create your customer journey and make it more interactive. And this is something we were talking a lot about in the session where we were talking about how to use voice and vision to create either new tools or new services or new solutions to make your journey more interactive and more engaging for your customers. And that can create an advantage. So just to give an example, we were talking with some fitness trainers. And I don't know if you'd heard before, but like there was like a business which had like raised a lot of money to create like a food diary where you could snap a photo and it would explain what the calories were in there. And I was showing them how they could literally do this for their own customers and offer them a tool as part of a fitness membership, which would enable them to like build a food diary with all the tracking and all the nutritional information within there. With someone else who was like a commercial van company, they were talking about how they want to kind of like help more people see the fit out of the inside of their van. And we were talking how we use vision and different tools to help people almost design and see the inside of their van faster so they can almost ideate and visualize their outcome. So the whole point here is like, if you start your AI operating system on the customer journey and make it more interactive and make it so that your customers can visualize and see more opportunities for themselves, you're going to help more people go down the road. And the same applies for any architect or builder or anyone in that situation. So the thing here is like, you have a window to start like using and implementing AI in a meaningful way before your competition does. And what we recommend is when you're building your AI operating system is to start in the place where your customers can feel, see, and enjoy it the most to kind of drive more interactivity and more revenue from there, basically. So really kind of the idea here is that like building your kind of like systems and playbook being AI first, that becomes almost the product. And I had several entrepreneurs say to me that, look, if we have that, that's actually more valuable than our current business because we can use that as our current business as a test pilot, but then we can then copy paste this model into different places or license it or sell it. And I think that's the big opportunity here, basically.
But the way I see it as well, though, is I was thinking about it over the weekend. Is that once you have an AI assisted organization, or to some extent, it's like industrial revolution, isn't it? It's like you've got this sort of input, which is, I don't know, wool,
Yeah,
and you've got a power loom, right?
exactly
And there's
that.
someone else has got a room full of people spinning away, and you've got to have a huge advantage. So in
Exactly
terms
that.
of your productivity, your profitability as well. But you've got it for a window of time. I mean,
Yes,
it did take about 200 years for the power loom to be ubiquitous, but you've got a moment in time or a period in time where you've got a competitive advantage. So whether it's talent, whether it's your inputs, whether it's your customers, whether it's your customer experience, whether it's your cost base, you've got a competitive advantage that you can monetize and double down on right now. Because I'm telling you that most businesses, if you're listening to our podcast, if you're reading our white papers, if you're taking our advice, you're hearing the news that we share every week, you are ahead already of about 97 probably percent
but there's
of people running businesses that are out there.
but there's like a 6 to 9 month window because like next year we're going to see voice become ubiquitous everywhere, and so you've got that window where you can really stand out and gain more people. We always see this on marketing, like when someone changes something on a new platform, they suddenly get a lot of response. Then other people start doing the same thing and the response goes down, basically. So this is the key thing. There's this finite window where you want to start implementing this and start gaining market share, because once everyone starts doing the same thing, it's like we talked about before. If everyone's got AI spell check, it's no longer a competitive advantage. So you've got a window where you can actually start to do this.
Yeah, and then it's going to be a case of almost like an arms race, really, where in terms of how do
Exactly.
you keep
There you
optimizing
go.
how do you keep building your business using this technology? So I think I think that it's kind of like in almost like merging together our initial two white papers into something which is
Correct.
sort of actionable. So we're thinking about doing a white paper on the AI operating system. We'll come back to you on that. So we're going to leave it there for this week because we're up to our sort of half an hour. We try and keep it short and sweet for you. I know you've got businesses to run. And I think the AI of the week, really, I'm going to go back to Adobe SoundLift. It's a bit of an annoying one because I think it's a limited access, but it is super powerful. And we all realize that content, marketing is very much these days is about content, but content in any business, especially in SME, is quite expensive to actually generate. We're seeing that things like AIs let you create videos in terms of like cartoons or animation. They're going to be really powerful. That's coming along. So I think they need to have an animator. £500 an hour, whatever it costs. The animator is going to go away. You're now seeing that creating video generally, in terms of you don't need stock imagery, stock videos going away.
Yeah,
You can now create any sound you want. You create any music you want now to go on the backing track. And then when you made your video, if the quality is not great, we used to now. Alok was showing some demonstrations of runway ML, where now you can just take a still image, paint over a boat sitting on the ocean in an image, and the boat starts moving. So now imagery and moving images you can now tweak and play with. The difficult parts being audio and sound. You needed a sound engineer. So now if you can split out sounds and move things around and change things just like in an image, that's super powerful, and that's going to reduce the cost. And as we always say, and I say in a lot of my keynotes and a lot's keynotes, is the cost of content is going to zero. And going back to the AI operating system, as soon as you can reduce the cost of your content, that's just going to contribute to the empowerment of your business and your people. Whew, it's exciting, isn't it? So again, we're going to leave it there. So please do sign up for our AI Insider newsletter. We are going to start doing some quite detailed, interesting
but
webinars,
only for
we're going to call them, but only for our
insiders.
AI insiders. Yeah.
Exactly.
So you need to sign up. You've got to be in it to win it. So sign up for our newsletter or insider, and also every week we send out a newsletter, and it's kind of really giving some insights and some strategic insights into AI and how to use it in your business. Have a read of our white papers. Please do, if you enjoy this podcast, do rate it, especially on Apple. Watch us on YouTube and like us and subscribe for us there. And please let us have any feedback or comments. So we're going to leave it there for this week. That's the AI Assisted Organization podcast. Myself, Piers Linney, and Alok Shukla. We'll see you again next week.
See ya.